Do you feel like your life is stuck in an endless loop? Like you're trapped in the matrix? Have you ever stopped to wonder why your mind keeps repeating old patterns and why reality seems to always keep you in the same place? If you feel this way, something big might be calling you. A secret that has been hidden for thousands of years is trying to awaken you. This secret is not a conspiracy theory or gossip. It's a truth that has been passed down by great sages like Buddha and ancient philosophers. And now, if you're hearing this, it's no coincidence. Their secret has found you because you're at the right time to change your life forever. You are not alone in this feeling. Millions of people around the world live in confusion, endlessly chasing goals they never truly chose. They are trapped in false beliefs, in outdated habits. But if you feel that it's time for a change, prepare yourself, because you're standing at the threshold of an inner revolution. These sages have passed this secret to you, and today you will learn how to use it to awaken, to escape the matrix, and to change your life forever. If this is your first time visiting our channel, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can stay updated with our latest videos on spiritual topics, inner awakening, and philosophical insights. What would you think if I told you that your whole life has been a lie? That everything you believe about the world, about yourself, is nothing more than a carefully crafted illusion designed to keep you trapped? This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a fact. For thousands of years, great sages have known this truth, but it has been hidden from you. The Hindus called this illusion Maya, the veil that hides the true nature of reality. Plato described it in his famous allegory of the cave. Prisoners, chained since birth, looking only at shadows on the wall, convinced that this was the only reality. Now ask yourself this: what would happen if you were one of those prisoners? What if everything you've been told, everything you've been taught, was part of an illusion designed to keep you from seeing the truth? And worse, who benefits from your imprisonment? The truth is that the matrix exists, but it's not made of wires, machines, or algorithms. It's made of ideas, beliefs, and stories that have been told to you since you were a child, stories you accepted without question. Go to school, get good grades, find a job, pay your bills, retire, die. That's the script. And if you dare step out of it, you'll be labeled as crazy, a dreamer, or someone who isn't being realistic. But here's the thing: while you follow this programmed path, someone is benefiting from it. The system relies on your compliance. It needs you to stay distracted, alienated, and exhausted, with no time to think critically about your life. It wants you to endlessly consume, to fill the void with things that don't matter, so you don't have the time or energy to question your reality. Social media bombards you with useless information, keeping you occupied, while the news fills you with fear, pushing you into a state of constant anxiety. And all the while, you keep running on the hamster wheel, believing that one day things will improve, but that day never comes. Perhaps, like many others, you've noticed a deep emptiness inside you, a sense that something is missing, but you can't quite pinpoint what it is. This emptiness might be ignored, drowned out by endless work, or distracted by social media, but it's always there, lurking in the background. You might numb yourself with temporary pleasures, like shopping or mindlessly scrolling through your feed, but when the distractions fade, that void is still there. Because here's the truth: it's not a mistake, it's a calling. That emptiness is a signal that you've been living in an illusion, a reality that is not truly yours. The ancient sages, the Egyptians, the Greeks, the shamans, and the wise men of the East, they all spoke of this. They understood that the material world is an illusion, and they emphasized the importance of awakening to the truth that lies beyond it. But over the centuries, this wisdom has been systematically ripped away from our civilization, replaced by a materialistic model where anything that can't be measured, seen, or bought is dismissed as irrelevant. This model has created a world where many believe the only way to measure their worth is through wealth, possessions, and success defined by others. It's a world where deep spiritual truths are forgotten, and people are left to live on autopilot, stuck in a never-ending cycle of superficial pursuits. The result? Millions of people are living lives that are disconnected from their true purpose, trapped in a cycle of meaningless hustle, thinking that this is what life is supposed to be like. They believe that the exhaustion, the frustration, and the emptiness are just part of the process. But this is not normal. It's not the way life was meant to be lived. Now that you've seen the truth, now that you've begun to realize that the life you've been living is based on a lie, you can't ignore it anymore. You can't keep pretending that everything is fine when deep down, you know it's not. The great sages understood that in order to truly live, to break free from the matrix, one must awaken. This awakening doesn't mean simply changing your external circumstances. It means changing your perception of the world and yourself. The truth is that everything you've been told about life has been filtered through layers of illusion, designed to keep you small, distracted, and disconnected from your true power. But now you have the chance to step out of the shadows, to wake up from the illusion, and to reclaim your life. And once you do, you'll never look at the world the same way again. But what if I told you that this feeling of being stuck in an endless cycle isn't a coincidence? That this repetition isn't a mistake, but a carefully designed system meant to keep you exactly where you are. This happens because your mind is a pattern machine. It repeats what it knows. If you grew up hearing that life is hard, that money only comes through suffering, that love hurts, then those truths have been imprinted into your subconscious. You might even wish for a different life, but something deeper always pulls you back to the same place. Because your mind doesn't care about your happiness, it cares about your survival. And what's familiar to it means safety, even if that safety is a cycle of pain, scarcity, and frustration. The worst part, you don't even realize you're keeping yourself trapped in this loop. Every time a past trauma comes up, you react the same way. Fear, anxiety, resentment, self-pity, they all come back like they're programmed because they are. Your mind replays your pain every day without you even noticing, and that's how the victim narrative is born. The world hurt you. Life didn't give you opportunities. People betrayed you. Nothing ever worked out. This story runs in your mind like a silent mantra, shaping how you see yourself. You start to define yourself by your traumas. The pain becomes part of your identity. But do you know what the problem is? That identity becomes your prison. Because when you see yourself as a victim, you give away your power. You believe that control over your life is in the hands of others. The government, the economy, chance. And as long as you believe that, you stay exactly where you are. And that's exactly how the system wants you to stay. Because people who see themselves as victims don't create, don't question, don't change, they just survive. And when millions of people are merely surviving, trapped in exhausting routines, struggling to pay bills, stuck in cycles of fear and despair, the system wins. The illusion of progress keeps everything running. Work harder, push yourself more, chase success, but success never comes. The finish line always moves a little further ahead. You work to get a better salary, to buy more things, to pay off debts that never end. You run, but never actually move forward. There's a name for this, the rat race. Have you ever seen a hamster running endlessly on that little wheel, thinking it's getting somewhere? Now look at your life. You work to pay the bills that keep you stuck in the same work cycle. You chase happiness in small doses. A weekend, a new purchase, a quick distraction, and then go right back to the same empty routine. You're busy, but you're not moving forward, and that's exactly what they expect from you. What would happen if you stopped? If you questioned this wheel? But the system doesn't want you to do that. It keeps you entertained, gives you new distractions, keeps you tired, makes you believe this is the only possible reality. Because if you see the truth, if you realize that this race is an illusion, then everything falls apart. The secret that the wise have always known. But what if I told you that this truth has already been revealed? Thousands of years ago, great masters tried to open humanity's eyes, warning that all of this, the endless race, the illusion of control, the feeling of emptiness, is just a mental game. The problem is, few people understood. Few people were ready. Jesus, Buddha, Socrates, Hermes Trismegistus, they all taught the same thing in different ways, across different times and cultures. But the core message was always the same. The world you see is not the real world. You are trapped in an illusion, but there is a way out. Jesus once said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you." Yet for centuries, where did people search for this truth? They looked outside themselves, turning to temples, churches, gurus, and spiritual leaders, always waiting for someone else to show them the way. But the truth is, it's always been within. It's never been anywhere else. The kingdom, the truth, the answers, they all reside within you, waiting for you to realize it. Buddha, too, understood this fundamental truth. He taught that all our suffering stems from our own minds. Our attachments, desires, and fears are invisible chains that bind us to an endless cycle of pain and frustration. But how many truly listened? How many understood that the key to freedom is not in trying to change the external world, but in changing how we perceive it? Our thoughts and perceptions shape our reality more than any external circumstances ever could. But most people keep looking for salvation outside themselves, not realizing that all the power to transform their lives lies within them. Socrates, the great philosopher, was one of the first to challenge this external search for truth. He didn't just accept the status quo, he questioned it. He questioned people's certainties and continued asking until their own logic collapsed. Why? Because Socrates knew that true wisdom isn't about accumulating more knowledge, it's about unlearning. It's about looking at everything you've been taught, everything you've been told, and asking, what if all of this is a lie? What if the world you've been told to accept as true is simply a construct, a story you've been fed to keep you from seeing your true potential? And Hermes Trismegistus, the father of Hermetic wisdom, took this even further with his famous saying, as within, so without, as above, so below. This simple but powerful statement reveals that the world we experience is a reflection of the world within us. The external world doesn't just happen to us, it happens through us. Your external reality is a mirror of your inner state. If you want to change your world, you must start by changing the way you think, feel, and perceive your own existence. When you transform your inner world, your outer world will follow suit. But the problem is that most people never truly understood these teachings. Worse, many of these truths were distorted, hidden, or erased over time. The truth has always been there, right in front of us, but it has been buried beneath layers of dogmas, myths, and prohibitions. Why? Because when a person is truly awake, they cannot be controlled. The system that benefits from your ignorance cannot thrive when you are aware of your own power. This is where sacred and esoteric texts come into play. For example, the Gospel of Thomas, one of the oldest texts attributed to Jesus, contains phrases that were omitted from the official Bible. If you read it carefully, you'll notice that it teaches something far different from what has been preached for centuries. One of its profound statements says, "If you bring forth what is within you will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." This isn't just spiritual rhetoric. This is the truth that can transform your life. It tells you that everything you need to change your life, everything you need to awaken is already inside you. The power, the wisdom, the answers, you have them within you right now. What does this mean for you? It means that the secret to transforming your life was never outside. It was never in the things you were told to seek, or in the material success you've been chasing. Hermetic teachings say the same thing. The Emerald Tablet, one of the oldest texts of occult tradition, speaks of transmutation, the ability to turn lead into gold. But this wasn't about literal alchemy. It was never about changing one substance into another. It was about mental alchemy. The process of taking the heaviness of your conditioned mind, weighed down by limiting beliefs, fear, and self-doubt, and transforming it into something pure, elevated, and awakened. This is the true alchemy. Shifting your mindset, reshaping your perception, and unlocking the infinite potential within you. By doing so, you change your entire reality. And when you finally realize this, you'll understand that everything you've been searching for has always been within you, just waiting for you to wake up to it. And science, no matter how much it has tried to ignore it, is starting to realize that these masters were right. Quantum physics has already proven that reality is not fixed, that subatomic particles can change their state depending on observation. That consciousness influences the physical world. This isn't empty spirituality. This is a laboratory experiment. The observer effect studied for shows that reality responds to perception, which means Your life, your experience, your reality have always been under your control. But they never wanted you to know that. Because once you realize that the power has always been within you, you stop being a prisoner. But even after discovering that reality isn't what it seems, there's one obstacle that keeps most people from truly waking up: their own mind. What happens when you try to change, when you try to break the pattern? Immediately, a flood of thoughts rushes into your head. This is nonsense. This isn't for me. It's always been this way. What if I fail? What if it goes wrong? These thoughts pop up automatically, like a conditioned reflex. But here's the secret. You are not your thoughts. The biggest illusion of the mental matrix is making you believe that your mind is you, that everything running through your head is real, true, and final. But your mind is not a conscious entity. It's a survival mechanism. A system that has learned to operate in repetitive patterns, always reacting to the past and projecting fear into the future. And that's exactly why you suffer. The conditioned mind is always stuck in a loop of past and future. It makes you relive old pain, repeat traumas, and worry about things that haven't even happened yet. You identify with these stories and start believing they define you. But what if you could detach from these thoughts? What if you could watch your mind working without getting sucked into it? Let me share a story with you. A disciple asked his master, "Master, my mind won't stop. It torments me with thoughts about the past and the future. How can I be free?" The master replied, "Look at that river. It flows non-stop, right? But you are not the river. You are just sitting on the bank, watching it pass by." The disciple looked at the river, confused. "But master, what about the thoughts?" The master smiled. "They're like the water, always flowing. But the problem is, you jump into the river and let yourself get carried away by the current. You fight, you struggle, you drown. But if you just watch, without reacting, you'll realize the river keeps flowing, but it doesn't take you with it." That's the key. The mind will never stop generating thoughts, but you can choose not to be pulled by them. This understanding is part of a profound teaching called non-duality, found in the philosophy of Advaita Vedanta. What does it mean? It means that the idea of a you separate from everything else is an illusion your mind has created. An identity, a self that carries memories, beliefs, stories, and traumas. And you've clung to this identity as if it were real. But it's not. Spiritual masters have always taught that true freedom happens when you realize you are not the mind, not the ego, not the story you've been told about who you should be. When you stop identifying with the flow of thoughts, something happens. You return to the present, and the present is the only real moment. Think about it. Where's the past? It only exists in your memory. Where's the future? It only exists in your imagination. The only moment that truly exists, that is actually happening, is now. But the mind doesn't want you to realize this, because when you're present, it loses control. When you're in the now, you're not worrying about what already happened. You're not anxious about what's yet to come. You just are. You just exist. And in this state of pure presence, all suffering disappears. The problem is that we were taught to live outside the present. Just notice that, in this exact moment, everything is okay. This is the way out of the mental matrix. The mind constantly pulls us into yesterday and tomorrow, always busy, always distracted. But try, just for a moment, to stop. Just feel your breath. Just listen to the sounds around you. You are the creator of your life. If you've realized that you are not your mind and that your thoughts are just a program running on a loop, then we've now reached the crucial point. Who's really in control of your life? The Matrix wants you to believe that it's others, that it's external circumstances, the government, the economy, your family, your past. But that's the biggest trap. The real prisoner isn't the one in chains. It's the one who believes they can't leave. The victim mentality is what keeps most people stuck. Have you ever met someone who's always complaining, who blames others for everything that happens to them? I'm like this because I had a tough childhood. I can't because no one gives me opportunities. I've never been lucky. These phrases may seem harmless, but they are spells. Affirmations that shape the reality of those who say them. And here's the secret that the great masters always knew. You attract what you believe to be true. This isn't superstition, it's a universal law. When you see yourself as a victim, your mind looks for evidence to reinforce that belief. You start noticing only obstacles, problems, and limitations. But when you take full responsibility for your life, something changes. You start seeing opportunities. You stop waiting for someone to save you and realize that you are the creator of your experience. This is co-creation. They walk into any situation and doors just open for them. They meet the right people, experience incredible coincidences. It seems like the universe favors these people, but it's not luck, it's frequency. They vibrate in a way that attracts exactly what they desire, and you can do the same. The problem is that most people want to change their reality without changing themselves. They want wealth, but vibrate scarcity. They want love, but vibrate loneliness. They want freedom, but live in fear. And life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. Free will is the key to all of this. You can choose to keep playing the victim game, or accept that everything that happens to you in some way was attracted by your own vibration. This can be hard to accept, but it's also liberating, because if you created your reality up until now, you can recreate it. And this is where we start talking about awakening. Leaving the matrix doesn't mean running off to the mountains or living isolated from the world. It means waking up to the truth that you were never really trapped. People confuse awakening with enlightenment, but awakening is just the first step. When Buddha reached enlightenment, he wasn't struck by divine lightning. He simply stopped. He stopped looking outside for what had always been inside. Jesus said the same thing. The kingdom of heaven is within you. But humanity has spent centuries looking up at the sky, waiting for salvation that was always within each one of us. Awakening doesn't turn you into a perfect being. It simply opens your eyes. You realize that your emotions are not you, that your mind is not you, that the stories you've told yourself about who you should be are not you. And for the first time, you see things as they really are. But here's the most important part. Awakening isn't a one-time event. It's a process. You don't have to wait for some huge revelation to change. Small daily changes already start dismantling the illusion. The simple act of observing your thoughts without reacting is a huge step. Practicing presence, consciously choosing what to feel, what to say, what to believe. All of this is part of awakening. And when you wake up, reality shifts. You no longer live as you did before. You feel the difference. The same situations that used to throw you off balance now seem insignificant. What once irritated you now just passes by like the wind. Go realize that you always had a choice. The Matrix wants you to forget this. It wants to keep you running on autopilot. But now that you've seen it, now that you understand the game, do you really think you can go back to sleep? The connection with the sacred, God, the universe, and the cosmic order. But realizing the illusion isn't enough. Now that you've seen the Matrix for what it really is, the question is, how do you escape it? How do you break the invisible system that keeps you trapped? The answer lies in deprogramming. For years, your mind has been trained to operate on autopilot. You wake up and grab your phone before even getting out of bed. You consume information without discernment, live on autopilot, and react to situations the same way over and over. But each of these actions strengthens your mental prison. If you want out, you need to reprogram your consciousness. The first key to this is inner silence. The Matrix thrives on noise. Your feed never stops. Your mind never stops. Your attention is constantly being hijacked. But it's in silence that the truth appears. That's why meditation is so powerful, not as some distant mystical practice, but as an act of disconnecting from the noise and reconnecting with yourself. If you've never meditated before, start small, just 5 minutes a day. Simply close your eyes and observe your breath. Don't try to control anything, just notice. At first, your mind will scream, trying to pull you back into old patterns, but keep going. Little by little, you'll start to notice that there's a space between you and your thoughts, and it's in that space that freedom begins. But it's not enough to just silence the mind. You need to choose what feeds your consciousness. The second step is digital fasting. The system feeds on your attention. With every notification, every sensational headline, every pointless debate, your energy is drained. You're being manipulated without realizing it. The only way to break this cycle is to disconnect from the external noise and reconnect with your own energy field. Try going a day without social media, then an entire weekend. Observe how your mind reacts. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, like you're missing out on something. But soon, you'll realize that the real loss was all the time and energy you wasted feeding on empty stimuli. And once you clear out what doesn't serve you, you can start reprogramming your mind with what truly matters. Everything you believe about yourself was put there by someone else. Your beliefs about money, love, success, happiness, all of it was conditioned by a system that never wanted you to know your true power. Now it's time to change that. Use conscious affirmations to reprogram your mind for the reality you want to create. Write down new truths and repeat them daily. I am free, I am prosperous, I am aware. Say them with conviction. Feel the truth behind the words. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between reality and imagination. If you change your vibration, your reality has no choice but to follow, because everything in the universe responds to the law of vibration. The frequency you operate on determines what you attract. If you vibrate fear, you attract more situations that reinforce that fear. If you vibrate abundance, you start noticing opportunities everywhere. If you vibrate your presence, you start experiencing life in a completely different way. And when you change internally, the external world has no choice but to follow. But there's a much deeper layer to this journey, one that goes beyond simply changing your habits or beliefs. There comes a point in the process of deprogramming where it's no longer about fixing individual aspects of your life. It's about reconnecting with something far bigger than yourself. It's about rediscovering who you truly are at your core. This is where the real transformation happens, not just on the surface, but in the very fabric of your being. This brings us to the connection with the sacred. The Matrix, as we call it, wants you to believe that only what can be seen, touched, and measured is real. It wants to keep you anchored in the material world, bound by what you can physically experience. But this limitation was placed to prevent you from recognizing what truly matters, the mystery of existence itself. When we talk about the difference between religion and true spirituality, it becomes clear. Religion imposes a set path, a rigid system of beliefs, a predefined set of rules. It often creates a boundary telling you what you must believe and how you must act. Spirituality, on the other hand, is a journey of discovery. It's an internal process, one of reconnecting with the divine essence that has always been within you, patiently waiting for your acknowledgement. The ancient philosophers and sages called this essence logos, the universal principle, the essence that cannot be truly explained by language but can only be felt deeply within the soul. It doesn't belong to any one doctrine or belief system, but rather, it is found in all of them, in varying forms. Connecting with the sacred does not require elaborate rituals or ceremonial acts. It is not about performing actions or reciting words from a sacred text. It happens in the simple moments of life, in the silence of a conscious breath, in the warmth of the sun on your skin, in the peaceful presence of the present moment. It's there, in everything, but you can only perceive it when you allow yourself to release the illusion of separation, the false belief that you are disconnected from the universe and from the divine. Here's the greatest truth that will change everything for you. You were never separated from the divine. You were just conditioned to believe that you were. This is the illusion, the root of all suffering. And once you realize this, once you truly understand that the divine has always been within you, your life will never be the same. You begin to see the world through new eyes with a deeper understanding of yourself and the universe. It's no longer a world of separation, but one of unity and connection. Awakening isn't something that happens merely in your mind. It's a complete transformation. It alters the way you feel, the way you see the world, the way you exist in it. Awakening shifts your entire reality, but only when you embrace it fully. Now that you've seen the truth, now that you've recognized the illusion, there's only one question left. What are you going to do with it? Because simply knowing the truth isn't enough. Without action, knowledge is meaningless. Many people come to this realization and yet still continue living in the same patterns, held back by fear or doubt. They know that they could change, but the fear of the unknown keeps them from taking the next step. It's easier to stay in the comfort of old habits, even if they're not fulfilling, than to step into the unknown. But you're no longer unconscious. You've seen the truth. You know now, and you can no longer pretend that you don't. The moment you apply this truth to your life, everything will change. Your relationships will shift, your reactions will change, and opportunities will begin to show up where there were none. Not because something magical happened, but because you've shifted internally. When you change from within, the external world has no choice but to reflect that change. You become the creator of your own reality, and you can see everything around you in a new light. But let me be clear, don't expect everything to be perfect. Awakening doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or difficulties again. It doesn't mean you'll never feel fear or doubt. What it means is that now you know that none of those things define you. You realize that challenges are part of the human experience, and they don't diminish your worth or power. The paradox of awakening is this: everything changes, and yet nothing changes. The world around you may look the same, but your perception of it shifts completely. You no longer see it with the eyes of someone who is trapped in the illusion. You see it with the eyes of someone who is free, who understands that the only thing that needed to change was your awareness. The world is as it is, beautiful, full of challenges, full of possibilities, but now you can experience it in a way you never could before. You have awakened, and now everything is possible. Do you find breaking free from the cycle of consciousness to be too great of a challenge? What are some ways you can concretely manifest and awaken your own awareness? Feel free to share your thoughts so we can all learn together. We want to sincerely thank you for taking the time to watch the video in its entirety. If you're interested in exploring more topics on spirituality, inner transformation, or mind philosophy, don't forget to subscribe to the Top Hidden Knowledge channel for more content on wisdom, spirituality, and personal growth. Or if you have time, check out other videos on this channel. Until next time.